Welcome. This is Santi Cuellar. I'm the Senior Manager of Product Marketing for Fusion Connect. And today we're going to speak about why you should think about moving from MPLS to SD-WAN. Let's get started. Let's start off with the reasons why you'd want to switch. One of the reasons why SD-WAN is taking over is simply because it's better, it's cheaper, and it's faster. It's better because you get 100 times faster installs. Say, for example, that you want to expand or add a new location. You don't necessarily have to wait for expensive bandwidth, which has a long turnaround time to be installed. You can actually deploy an SD-WAN edge device with some wireless broadband like 5G, 4G, LTE type connectivity, and it can act as a temporary access point for you while you wait for your broadband connectivity to be activated or installed. It's cheaper because you can save 50% or more in cost savings. You do this by taking advantage of low-cost bandwidth. With SD-WAN, you can bundle low-cost bandwidth and provide equivalent speeds to that of high-cost bandwidth. You do this via aggregation, and you do it via load balancing. Add to that the ability to fail over, and you start seeing how SD-WAN really shines. It's faster because you can aggregate, you can bond these connectivities together. For example, let's say I have a 10 meg broadband connection and a 30 meg cable connection. And I'm able to bond these two together and either use these as one big pipe of 40 megs, or I can keep them separate and do load balancing between the two. So there's a lot of flexibility, and add to that the ability to prioritize applications. And you just make this connectivity so much more faster now. So it's better, it's cheaper, and it's faster. But really, it's the feature set that SD-WAN brings to the table that are reasons why you should want to switch. Best path selection, for example. This is the ability to select the best path available for that underlying access performance. You also get application prioritization. So you can now prioritize mission critical applications to ensure available bandwidth for optimal performance. You get network reliability. This is real-time network failover, which allows sessions to move to a new transport in the event of, let's say, a brownout or even a blackout. Manageability. So lower admin cost and better control provides a level of network visibility unmet by conventional or traditional networks. Security. So encrypted connectivity literally secures traffic in transit across any transport. And there's options for advanced security like unified threat management. Then you get flexibility and scalability. So this is the ability to redistribute bandwidth to accommodate for like flash conditions or maybe even new applications. So SD-WAN, not the carrier, controls the allocation of the bandwidth. So it puts the power back in the edge, not in the cloud. And then you get financial performance. So with a lower per megabyte cost, and you do that by utilizing multiple broadband connectivity. If you look at the diagram on the screen or to the right, what you have is you have all these locations. You have a data center and you have all these branch locations. They all have SD-WAN. But if you look at the box in the middle, they are leveraging MPLS, broadband, DSL, LTE like 5G. So SD-WAN really doesn't care what connectivity or what access you're bringing. It'll take it all. And now you can look at cost saving options because of that. And then finally, you have rapid MACDs, right? Moves, adds, changes, and delete. So let's say, for example, you can bring up a new location, let's say, in days. We can basically have an SD-WAN device shipped out to that location, and maybe while you're waiting for your primary connectivity, you could have like LTE connection to it. Again, it doesn't care what that access is, right? It'll take it. And so these are some of the reasons, some of the compelling reasons why companies would need SD-WAN. So in this SD-WAN versus MPLS comparison matrix, not only do we see where MPLS falls short, where all the X's, but we also see where SD-WAN really shines. Now, when you hear the term MPLS hybrid in this context, we're talking about a customer who maybe said, you know what, I cannot afford to have MPLS at every single location. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have MPLS at my main headquarters, maybe some regional offices, maybe at the data center. But then all my branch locations, I'm just going to create, IPsec tunnels, just VPN tunnels. It's a means of saving money. They get to encrypt that traffic and they get to connect back into the MPLS network that way without having MPLS all throughout their locations. So yes, you can save a little bit of money by doing a hybrid solution, but with SD-WAN, because you can switch out very expensive dedicated connectivity options for some broadband options, really the most compelling ROI is that customer who has nothing but a dedicated MPLS network, who is paying quite a lot of money for a lot of access. If you look at that column, there's a lot of things that MPLS is not able to do. So now you can roll out SD-WAN, and you not only do check off a lot of more boxes, but you start saving a lot of more money because you can mix and match your bandwidth. Now, this is not to say that SD-WAN and MPLS are completely exclusive. You saw the previous slide where we had a graph, and one of the axes that was available was MPLS. So MPLS and SD-WAN can absolutely work together. In fact, there might be compelling reasons why a company may choose to keep some MPLS. If that's the case, SD-WAN can help augment that MPLS network. But really, the overall message here is, if there is no compelling reason to have to stay with a traditional WAN technology like MPLS, switching out to SD-WAN is going to save you a significant amount of money and give you a lot more features that you could use. Now, MPLS has pros and cons. Okay, when contemplating the whole SD-WAN versus MPLS question, it's important to consider one of MPLS' most important aspects, and that is the reliable delivery of packets. That is what MPLS has been known for. Okay, MPLS generally offers excellent quality of service when it comes to avoiding packet loss and keeping a business most critical traffic flowing. Okay, that's definitely a huge pro. However, MPLS does have a couple of cons. All right, so the biggest one's going to be the bandwidth cost. All right, MPLS is just not as affordable. Okay, and that's the reality. The other thing is MPLS networks does not offer built-in protection. Okay, and if incorrectly implemented, it can actually open the network up to vulnerabilities. So that's the con going against MPLS. But listen, MPLS served its purpose. It was mostly driven by the adoption of voice over IP by the enterprise space, and it did a great job at prioritizing voice. But now we can kind of get a mix of broadband access options, bring SD-WAN into the mix, and get the same level of prioritization and quality of service that you would expect. Now, some key benefits from SD-WAN. Now, let's, again, trying to continue that discussion about SD-WAN versus MPLS. SD-WAN does offer several benefits over that traditional MPLS network. You kind of saw that graph that we had with all the checkboxes. Okay, but the core value proposition of SD-WAN is that it promises to dramatically impact the entire enterprise networking ecosystem. Okay, with SD-WAN, basically geographic boundaries are erased. And key benefits such as visibility, scalability, performance, and even control are enhanced. And so that's where SD-WAN also shines, right? In these feature sets. Now, unlike MPLS, SD-WAN comes with no bandwidth penalties. So customers can pretty much upgrade easily by adding just a new link with no changes necessary to the infrastructure or the network. You wouldn't be able to do that with MPLS, right? So perhaps the greatest value point of SD-WAN is basically the ability to cost effectively mix and match those network links that we talked about. Okay. So again, SD-WAN tends to shine when it comes to that flexibility. And I would say arguably the primary advantage of SD-WAN is security, right? Today's companies, they really prefer network architecture that integrates security and policy and orchestration, all from a centralized, portal. And that's what SD-WAN is able to do. Pretty much all devices and endpoints are completely authenticated thanks to a scalable key exchange functionality and software-defined security. And SD-WAN really is ideal for just about everybody. I mean, it's really hard to say, no, it only fits in certain circumstances. Really, everybody should be entertaining SD-WAN. But some of the companies or profiles that kind of stand out for me, definitely if you have a multi-location business, because all those branch locations now can be added to your SD-WAN network, right? Very easily. But even if you have a single location company, but you rely heavily on software as a service, or if your business absolutely demands a high level of redundancy, then SD-WAN would be a good option. Also, if you're looking at some of the technology challenges, such as using cloud-based technologies, right? Or even if you just need a better business continuity plan. Now with this pandemic, one of the technological challenges we're having is using remote workers and even VDI. A lot of folks went ahead and got thin clients and they were using virtual desktops for a long time, and that kind of requires a lot of special attention from a bandwidth and prioritization aspect, and SD-WAN can absolutely help with that. And then finally, from a pain points perspective, listen, everybody's looking to reduce cost, okay? So if you're looking to reduce the cost of an expensive MPLS network, SD-WAN would be a good fit for you. Or just the opposite. Maybe you're expecting rapid network growth. Maybe you're expecting to add additional branches, locations. And so SD-WAN is a much quicker option for a company that's expanding. So things to think about. Now, the reality is more and more applications are moving to the cloud. And SD-WAN literally optimizes the use of software as a service. And so this is another reason why a lot of companies are entertaining this. And not to mention that you get reliability and elasticity. For example, let's say a VoIP deployment. Now, if you wanted to, back in the days, right? If you wanted to have a voice over IP deployment, you had to choose some very expensive on-net private circuits, right? Maybe it was T1s, maybe it was some kind of Metro E, whatever that was. It was on net, it was private, it was not, it was synchronous, and you paid for that, okay? And the reality is, over time, network costs just started skyrocketing. As you added new locations, it just became too expensive. And so a lot of companies say, well, why can't we just use broadband? Well, broadband is definitely not as expensive, but it's not as reliable either. And so what SD-WAN does, it enables that economical expansion of bandwidth by doing what? By aggregating different types of WAN circuits. It doesn't care if it's a T1, if it's a cable, if it's maybe fiber, even wireless, connectivity like LTE, 4G, 5G, wherever it's available. And so SD-WAN is able to do that. It's literally will aggregate all these different WAN connections and give you better performance at a much lower cost. So let's take a look at some of the checkpoints here for security. And this is going to be a little bit of a line-by-line slide because we want to make sure that you guys understand what the features are from a security standpoint and what does it mean for you as far as your benefits. So security policy applied at the site level. This is important. So there's no need to bring traffic back to central devices. Provide site-level policies and reduce bandwidth costs at centralized locations. So that old hub and spoke became very hard to manage from a cost perspective because every single ounce of traffic would have to go back to that centralized location in order to have its security policies applied to no longer, because everything is managed at the edge. So you can reduce the amount of bandwidth you need back at headquarters or at that data center because you don't need every single location coming back to that centralized location, not necessarily. And so that's another benefit. Site-to-site and full mesh IPsec VPN. Secure sensitive traffic over the WAN, and it does meet certain PCI requirements, so that's something to understand. Firewall with application control. You may also hear this called layer 7 firewall. What that means is that back in the days, we would have a firewall, a traditional firewall, and it would probably secure, it would have rules, it would have policies, and it would secure a certain port, for example. Well, with next-gen firewall capabilities, and by the way, a lot of these next-gen firewall capabilities have SD-WAN layered on top of them, right? So you have everything on one box. But now we can do these policy and these controls at the application layer. So we can set policy for specific applications. You get antivirus and malware protection. This is, again, first-line defense at each SD-WAN location. And it is, again, a product of next-gen firewalls, right? And also, unified threat management as a whole. Intrusion detection and prevention. So it provides visibility and alerts into potential intrusions, which helps to mitigate, risks of breach. You get web filtering, so you can restrict access to business-only websites, okay? And also remote access VPN. You can actually enable remote workers to function as if they were in the office. So some of the features and benefits from a security standpoint that you would inherently get by adopting SD-WAN. So we've talked about the reasons why customers are looking to move from MPLS to SD-WAN. The question is, why would you choose us for that, right? Why would you choose Fusion Connect? Well, first of all, you have to understand we've been doing this for a long time. And not only have we been doing this for a long time, but we use what we call best of breed technology. We don't just have one SD-WAN platform that you need to somehow fit into. We actually have a multi-vendor or multi-platform approach. We have 3 top-tier SD-WAN platforms that we use, and we do that because we realize that there is no such thing as an SD-WAN solution that fits all customers. We want to be able to fit our solution to the customer and not try to force the customer into a specific platform. And so that's the first thing I want you to understand, is that we're very unique in how we approach the market with SD-WAN, and we have the expertise around all these platforms. Not to mention, we have a portfolio that complements the SD-WAN offering, stuff like unified communications or unified threat management. We also can provide even the underlying service enabling platform. We have a nationwide backbone for that. And so that kind of allows us to be a thought leader in that space. So it's a North American IP-based backbone where we can basically provide end-to-end enabling of all of our services. Not to mention, we also have a full cycle customer lifecycle management. Everything from the moment we design your solution to the moment we actually provision it and implement everything, and then the ongoing support by a US-based 24/7 network operations center. And so, we truly want to be that trusted managed services partner, and we have the capabilities and the people to make that possible. So let me talk a little bit about the Fusion Connect service experience, and we're going to start off with the solution design, because at the end of the day, we have to be able to put something together that works for you, for your specific needs. Okay, so we have solution design engineers, and these folks, just on average, they have about 20 years each, and there's quite a bit of them. So I mean, the amount of knowledge in that base is tremendous. And not only do they have this experience, but they're certified. I mentioned we have multiple platforms where they're certified in these platforms. So they know how the technology works. They're very intimately involved with this technology. They have their own labs. They have their own gear. They do very, very creative solutioning with our platforms. Not to mention that there's ongoing review of solutions to meet changing needs of the customer. So it's not, we created it and we set it and we walk away, but we're always in communication with our customers, and we're ready to adapt the solution to the changing status of our customer. From a service delivery standpoint, we have project management for our implementation, not to mention customization of delivery process that can also be repeatable, right? And then finally, an ongoing advanced technical support from a 24/7 US-based NOC to advanced services model for enterprise customers. We also have very feature-rich portals which customers can access. And of course, we have that full lifecycle management, everything from the onboarding to proactive monitoring to account management. So we're able to meet different customers' needs, not just by listening and understanding the specific business challenges, but we are geared to cater to not just the small and medium-sized business in the mid-market, but even the enterprise. Okay, everything from that advanced services solution design to that service implementation coordinator, the onboarding and the training that goes along with that. Not to mention dedicated account management, project coordination. We get, and for the enterprise space, you get that dedicated customer service manager as well as prioritized support line, where only enterprise customers are able to call into. So we have the infrastructure and the structure and the people to cater to all of the markets. So I want to close with a case study. And this case study is a company called MCG Architecture. This is a 90-year-old architectural firm, all right? And they literally specialize in stuff like shopping centers. They do office buildings. They even do hotels. Their headquarters in Cleveland. And they have some branch locations, Irving, Denver, and San Francisco, okay? So the challenge they had was not only were they getting multiple bills from multiple vendors, but the MPLS network initially was solving that voice over IP and that prioritization. However, network issues became also slow to resolve because the technology was not at the edge. You were relying on the carrier. Remember, MPLS is a carrier technology. Customer had no control over it. Even the customer's IT department had no control of it. So what was the solution? Well, first of all, we basically migrated this customer from MPLS to SD-WAN. And what it gave them that flexibility and that redundancy that their business really requires, not to mention the optimization of the application performance. And because we were able to build it with some failover, we can also go ahead and increase that uptime, right? Not only does the customer have more visibility into the network, but honestly, it requires very little attention. Once you set it, you kind of leave it. In fact, the director of the information systems for this company said, our SD-WAN network requires little attention. We're extremely happy. We made the move from MPLS. So, and that's what drove this customer was, that network control, that visibility, and that, ability to resolve an issue at the location level very easily and very quickly. And so that brings this presentation to a close. I hope that helps you with your journey as you continue to explore the compelling reasons why you would move from MPLS to SD-WAN. I hope the information was helpful, and thank you for joining us today.